Yo, what's up, guys? Big day. Game one of the NBA Finals. You can see the Heat are pretty big underdogs. So this odds jam algo odds column, it just kind of takes a weighted average of all the different sports books. And you can see the Heat, nothing has really moved that much in the past couple days. They've been around plus 320 underdogs. So I'm going to be running you through a bunch of picks for today. As sharp bettors, we're always looking for value. We're always looking for an edge. So my first play, though, is actually in the WNBA. So I found this pick on the sportsbook screen on OddsJam. So basically the way this tool works is, pretty simple. It just reads in data from all the different books. So, what essentially we're looking for, Prize Picks, Underdog Fantasy, like these are three fantasy sites that all have player prop lines for the WNBA, and they all work in pretty similar ways. So if you look at someone like, Nafisa Collier or Tiffany Hayes, there's no discrepancies in where books are setting her odds, right? For Tiffany Hayes, Prize Picks, Underdog, Parlay Play, they all have her line at 3.5. There's no value in the market. But if you look at Alyssa Thomas, Underdog Fantasy is screwing up big time, right? Underdog has her line at 11.5. Prize Picks, Parlay Play, their lines are lower at 11. Again, this is all possible. Sharp sports betting, like literally how I've made tons of money on Underdog Fantasy, almost $100,000. It's all just from finding discrepancies, from finding player props with value, right? There's nothing complicated. All these books set lines independently. So as sharp bettors, we want to hunt through the market and we want to look for discrepancies. So here for Alyssa Thomas, player rebounds, you can look at any market you want. I'm just currently looking at player rebounds, but you're going to see her line's 11.5 on Underdog. It's lower at 11 on Prize Picks and Parlay Play. And then sportsbooks have her even lower at 10.5, right? DraftKings, Betano, the sportsbooks have her at 10.5 rebounds. So Underdog Fantasy, their line is too high. Other fantasy sites are at 11. Sportsbooks are at 10.5. So we want to take the under. So that's the first player prop that I went with. And I've had a pretty good start to the WNBA. As you can see, this play I gave out on the live stream, my last bet on Underdog Fantasy, 3 picks, $3,000 payout. As always, just following the data. I don't think I've ever watched a WNBA game. Like the way you make money sports betting on these fantasy sites is you understand the data, right? You understand how to read the market, search for value, search for discrepancies. So my second pick is right here. So it's on Nicholas Roy under 2 shots on goal. So actually first, before anything, let me lock in this play so I don't forget. So I'm hitting 3 picks total, as you can kind of see right here. These are the 3 picks, right? There's a maximum bet size of $350 in the NHL. So I'm only going to be able to bet this for $350. Whereas, this last play I was able to bet for $3,000. But what you're going to see is $350 to win 2.1K. My next play is Nicholas Roy under 2 shots on goal. So you look at Underdog Fantasy. They have his line at 2, right? Prize Picks and Parlay Play, they don't even have a lineup on Nicholas Roy. You look at all the sports books, they have his line at 1.5, right? With the over a little favored. So Underdog Fantasy, their line is higher, right? All the books have Roy's line at 1.5. Sports books Underdog has his line at 2. All the books are at 1.5 with the over very slightly favored. Like you can see there's only slight juice towards the over. So basically the value in this play comes where if we bet Nicholas Roy under 1.5 shots on goal, we would have lost, right? We would have lost in the last game that the Golden Knights played against the Stars, right? Because he had exactly 2 shots on goal. Whereas on Underdog Fantasy, we would have pushed, right? Like he had exactly 2 shots on goal. So we wouldn't have lost our bet. Taking under 2, we would have pushed. So this player's line, like 1.5 to 2 shots on goal, is a big jump. You can see Nicholas Roy, in 2 of his last 3 games, he's had exactly 2 shots on goal, right? So long story short, we found value in the market. These are spots where we would have pushed. We're taking his under 2 shots on goal, whereas people who would have bet his under 1.5 on a sports book would have lost, right? So again, as always, any questions you have, don't hesitate to reach out. Underdog Fantasy, they give you a $100, deposit match when you sign up with promo code OddsJam. So I've explained this before, but all these different sports books, right? Prize Picks runs a bunch of promos. Underdog Fantasy runs a bunch of promos, right? They have an $100 deposit match when you sign up with code OddsJam. Is like, this is an easy way, right, to make money sports betting, is just take advantage of these promos. You know, these books are in ruthless competition with one another, so they all offer pretty lucrative sign-up bonuses. And like, this is a free $100 on Underdog Fantasy. Even if you only place this one bet that I'm giving out, you know, you're going to make some good money. So another thing I wanted to mention, though, just before we, move on, is that, you can use OddsJam, the positive expected value tool, to find plays on other sportsbooks as well. So here's a 2-pick parlay from the positive EV tool that I locked in on Fliff. So I've explained this before, but like, as a sharp bettor, you want to use as many books as possible. So here we can see 2 positive EV bets on Fliff. So for Anna Carolina Schmidlova, so a tennis play, OddsJam is updating millions of odds to point out these discrepancies, point out the value in the market. You're going to see Fliff is the only sportsbook with Kayla Day as the favored, tennis player. Every other sportsbook has Anna favored, like BetMGM, DraftKings, FanDuel, BetOnline, Pinnacle. So Pinnacle is known to be the sharpest sportsbook in the world. They all have Anna Carolina as the favored, player in this match, right? Fliff is literally the only sportsbook with Kayla Day favored. So long story short, like, we follow the data. All these other books have Anna Carolina favored. Getting -105 is really good value. BetOnline and Pinnacle, 2 of the sharpest bookmakers, are pricing her around -118 odds. So long story short, there's a no-brainer play to go with on Fliff. So I'm always just, trying to show you like the importance of using multiple sports books. You never know where the value is going to be on a given day. So the more books you have, the more profitable betting opportunities are going to be available to you. But anyways, back to Underdog, right? So if we go back to Underdog, I've explained this before, but like, what makes Underdog an interesting platform is it's a fixed payout platform, right? So what I mean by that is on Underdog, any 3-pick entry you create, you're always getting a 6x payout, right? It doesn't matter if I switch this to Vladdy Jr. under 1.5 bases, still getting a 6x payout. His over, his under, whatever. Any 3 picks you select, you're getting a 6x payout. So basically, if you go through the math behind Underdog, and I'll include this spreadsheet in the description, but what you're going to see is you need to win approximately 55% of your player props to be profitable on this platform, right? Like, literally just breaking down the math behind a 3-pick payout on Underdog Fantasy. It's a 6x payout, right? It's a 6x payout for any 3 picks you select. So the way this platform works is they know most sports bettors are only going to win their over-unders 50% of the time. They're going to get 50% right, 50% wrong if they have no advantage. But on Underdog, you need to win, let's say, 57% of your picks, only losing 43%. And then you'll have a positive ROI. Most people can't do that. Right? Winning 57, only losing 43% of your picks, it's not easy, right? That's a pretty big advantage, but that's how you make money on Underdog. So basically, we're looking for player props on this platform that are winning above 55% of the time. So one of the tools I use to find prop bets winning above 55% of the time is the Fantasy Optimizer. So you go to Fantasy and then Fantasy Optimizer. In this betting tool, it works for Prize Picks. It works for all these different fantasy sites. But essentially, you're just looking, again, for value in the market. So you're going to see for Caldwell Pope, his over 11.5 points plus assists is 55.64% to win, which is why this is the final player prop that I went with in my Underdog Fantasy entry, right? I broke down all 3 picks, why I like them, why I think they're profitable. And why is, Caldwell Pope very likely to go over 11.5 points plus assists? Well, take a look at the data, right? Like the sports books, if you look at Caesars and DraftKings, they have this over -140, -154. So all of the sports books, again, as sharp bettors, we treat every book as a data point, right? All of the sports books are saying, Caldwell Pope, he's a lot more likely to go over 11.5 points plus assists as opposed to under, right? The same way the Nuggets are favored to win game 1, sports books are data points. You're not smarter than the sports books. They've invested, hundreds of millions of dollars in their ability to set lines, right? So like, don't try to outmodel the sports books. Just use their data to find discrepancies on Underdog. So you're going to see for Caldwell Pope, the sports books have his over heavily favored, right? So his over is more likely than his under. So this is a player prop winning above 55% of the time. So it's profitable in an Underdog fantasy entry. So some early player props, right? I have this little 2-pick parlay on Fliff. I also have 3 picks that we broke down on Underdog Fantasy. So hopefully this video was helpful, kind of breaking down the strategy. As always, any questions you have, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll include all these presentations, stuff like that in the description. And let's make some money, guys.